Wonderful weekend ahead of you, and yeah, I hope it's been a good week. And for those of you struggling, just this is a story for you, kind of how life evolves when we look at Noah and the ark. And it's such a beautiful story. Again and again, I just get such a kick out of sharing it because it's got so many layers of meaning and richness. And it's that part of, we all go through this. We all go through floods in our life. I can guarantee you that as a pastor. If you feel like you're the only one, you're not. It is a universal experience that we all go through. And today we're continuing to look at sort of the tail end of the flood. So the story, if it had a storyline, it would start here, and then you have the flood, which is the big crisis, and now the flood waters are receding, and we're looking at that part of life, sort of a part that's starting to see life anew, starting to feel like maybe reborn in a certain way, starting to maybe have some sparks of hope. And again, these are sparks. These are not. It's not like we live in hope. There's just a few things start to get more and more settled into our lives, and that's again pictured by, as the floodwaters recede, starting to see these mountaintops. And the part we're looking at today is a beautiful little passage, and it says Noah opened the window of the ark, and it's a simple part. So the ark comes to rest on the top of this mountain, and then what does Noah do? He opens a window. There's only one window in the ark, and we see that from a Christian New Church perspective is the eye of love. We start to see out there into the world with the eye of love, and that's very, very different place to start to see. And what I wanted to talk about today is right sizing the frame. Right? How do we right size the frame? Because you think about, just again, I'm using the story as a metaphor here. You think about Noah, floods, yourself, floods, right? And then those floods can feel so all consuming, like the noise just in our head, the voices in our head, those things we were just unable to shake. And over time, those do tend to quiet. And as those quiet, as the flood waters come down, we start to see more and more and more and more and more. We start to see mountains appear, and then we start to see hills appear, and then we start to see fields appear. We start to see all this stuff slowly start to open up and appear before our eyes. And that's a really interesting phase that we're going to be launching into here. And I thought it'd be an interesting one just to share a concept of with you folks online. And that's the idea of how do we right size the frame. And I think with life, right? I mean, you can think of a frame like this, and the frame like this is if we have a small frame and we put a big picture of ourselves in it, the frame, we've obviously just framed ourselves, and there's no room for anything else because we've just framed our lives as having to do about me, myself, and I. That's it. That's the only thing it's about. And then maybe we bump it out just a hair, and if we bump it out just a hair, maybe there's a little room there for some other people, but it's usually just the closest of friends and family. And yet, I feel like so much of the spiritual journey, in the way that we start to see mountains and then hills and then valleys and then fields, we start to see more and more. So much of life isn't necessarily about squashing us down. I mean, obviously, you want to squash down the narcissistic, egotistical parts that we all carry. You want to get those right sized, right? And in addition to that, also, and maybe even more importantly, actually, in a certain way, is actually bumping out the frame. So think of it, right? I think we could say, like, look, my ego is filling up the whole picture. I got to downsize my ego. True, very true, and that's an important realization, an important spiritual work to do. And maybe one of the best ways to kind of get your ego in check, get your self preoccupation in check, is to just bump out the frame. And as we bump out the frame, we become more and more right sized, and our ego becomes more and more right sized too. In other words, it shrinks just from the simple fact that we're starting to see a bigger picture. We're starting to see more people. We're starting to see lands open up. We're starting to see all kinds of things. I think that's really big. I think that's really important. And I know for me, I imagine for you, when I get a lot of anxiety stirred up in myself, when I struggle with a lot of things, anxiety for me gets the frame really small. It gets it really super small and super contracted, and where the only thing I keep company with are crazy thoughts in my head, and that happens to a lot of us. And what we want to do is we want to keep on bumping it out, because as we bump that frame out, even in anxious times, we find this connection. We find this new way to communicate. We just keep on bumping it out. That is critically important because I think that's what God's actually asking us to do. And what kind of fills all that other space? Well, there's many things you could say fills the other space. So in a certain sense, in terms of a ratio, I become smaller and the frame becomes bigger, even though I haven't actually changed my size, but the frames become bigger. What starts to fill all that space, and again, we can answer a million things here, but just two I'd ask you to consider as we go into this weekend are this: wonder and awe. When we start to see those vistas open up, like it just is wonderful. And not that it's awful, we won't say that, but we start to see this awe, just this awe to life, like, wow, I just didn't see that. Um, I mentioned this in here before. I was out on a walk in the morning, and as I'm on this stroll, I just hit this beautiful, I mean, the sun was just like sunlight was just perfect. And it was just ridiculous, like breathtaking, the golden colors that were all around. And I think that's kind of that view, right? That's kind of that awe and wonder that can sneak up on us. And we have to be open to it. And most importantly, we have to be willing to stop. But that starts to fill in all this space. And when we really come at life from wonder and awe, just think about how that translates into how we relate to other people. When we really, really are just in like, wow, life is good. Look at all this. Wow, I didn't know this was all here. God, you're in this place and I didn't know it. Famous Bible quote there from Jacob's Ladder. And we just start to see that. And just boy, that leaves us in such a different space than the space we're left in when the frame keeps contracting. And please, if you're somebody who struggles with the frame that's contracted today, that's just part of life too. It just simply is. We will all struggle with it. We're all struggling with it probably several times a day. I think for most of life, we just get a glimpse of the bigger picture sometimes. Just like I got a glimpse out walking. I haven't seen that since. I may not see that kind of light again with a particular angle in the clouds there. I may not see that for years. I may not see it for the rest of my life. I don't know. But those moments are magical. And that's where we want to like just hold that very gently. So some days, of course, our frames are constricted. And we can prayerfully think and prayerfully work and prayerfully do the best we can to allow those frames to bump out and to see what kind of connection and communication starts to happen as wonder and awe kind of become the backdrop of the whole thing. So that's my thought for today, folks. I certainly hope that makes sense to you. And yeah, and I just great getting a chance to chat with you this week. And listen, have a blessed weekend. Have a wonderful week. And again, special service on Sunday for those of you who are Sunday viewers. We have a special service dealing with adolescence and spiritual life. What is it like? What's the spiritual life of a high school student? And uh, Pastor Chuck's little 2 cents is I think we're all still in high school. I know I still feel like on my best days I'm 18. For the good and the bad of that, right? So anyhow, that's what we're doing this Sunday, and I certainly hope you can join us. So with that, friends, what we're going to do now is we're going to take a little breath. We're going to do a little meditation. We're going to then move on to a little prayer, a little blessing, and then we'll say hi to folks who are joining us on social media on New Church Live's Facebook page. So with that, friends, let's get a little breath. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I. Be still and know that. Be still and know. Be still and. Be still be. Our Father, who art in the heavens, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so upon the earth. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you, bring you peace, and bring you home. Amen. All right, friends, let's take a little cheery hello. Say hi to folks here who might be joining us on this fine morning. Let's see what kind of comments we have today. Oh, this downloaded. Sue writes, good morning. Happy Friday. Grateful for multiple blessings this week. And that's beautiful. You know, I was meeting, it's just so interesting meeting with people in this whole, just, I get to interact with a lot of people on a daily basis. And it's just amazing how gratitude seems to always come up. Someone will bring up the importance of gratitude, which I love. Marcus writes, good morning, and good morning to you, buddy. Gene, my frame is filled with grateful wonder. Happy Friday. And then, that's it. Like, just imagine filling a frame with that. Like, how cool would that be if that's the way we went out framing the world? I think, boy, there's a lot there. And Mary writes, just for today, may we approach life and all our fellows with curiosity, like that of an innocent child. And it's so true, Mary, right? Like the beginner's mind is such a beautiful spiritual concept. How do we all have the beginner's mind? All right, we got a bunch of comments here. Let me take a look over here. Linda writes, good morning, and good morning to you, Linda. Martha, my friend, good to see you joining us. Paige, you're always so good with language. That's a beautiful thing. Awe becomes awe. It's true, right? It's so true, so true. Patricia, great to see you joining us this morning. Kim, happy weekend to you as well. Sherry, good morning. Have a wonderful weekend. Yeah, isn't that just like that word wonderful? Like, isn't that is just so good? Such a beautiful word. When there, Linda, I was repeating those words there. Wonder and awe, so good. Teresa writes, thank you, Chuck, and thank you, Teresa, for hopping on the phone yesterday. Deeply appreciated that. And Carl writes, wonder and awe, delightful addition to life, especially during challenging times if we're willing to let them in during hardships. Looking forward to seeing and hearing you on Sunday. Well, I'm looking forward to that as well, Carl. It's fun. I spent most of my career was actually teaching. I taught in Pittsburgh public school system. I taught in the Pocono Mountain School District. And then I taught in a private school, the Academy of the New Church, right across the road here. And so most of my life was working as a teacher, a public high school, and then a private high school teacher. So this topic of adolescent spirituality, high school students spirituality, and again, I think we're all in that place, right? We all sort of have that 18-year-old mindset in many parts of our life. It's be fun to talk about. So listen, folks, God bless, take care, have a wonderful day, and we will talk to you again soon. Safe weekends. Hopefully see you on Sunday and see you again on Monday. Bye-bye.